K24, Driving Business.
Well, welcome back to that short commercial break. It is 39 minutes past 7 a.m. And of course, Karibu, East Africa, Madam Tse and bonjour. Welcome to this very interesting part. Now, of course, looking at the East African Business Council has a new boss, and of course, looking at the private sector to how it's going to thrive and grow with its new boss set in place. Well, I had the chance actually last year to attend one of their summits. Talking about business. It's really enlightening, honestly. I was really shocked that most Ugandans were not participating in an opportunity. Business people, I just spotted a few, and I'm like,
Let me make a comment on this. The challenge we have in Uganda is one thing, is that we pay attention to matters that to non-priorities. Take a look at what trends in Uganda. What do we? See, let me tell you something. And actually, you've mentioned something. You've triggered me to speak certain things. If you take a look at what the Kenyans have done to create an economic change, an economic revolution in their country, it's as a result of how they have used social media. Ugandans, how are we using our social media? Posting nudes, finding out who chucked the other. I'm not saying Kenyans don't do that, but are we yet at the level to be focusing on that? Now, you've talked about a summit, and it's in Uganda, but less of Ugandans are participating into this. These opportunities that you're actually mentioning about, we are known so much. We have been wired in a way of, because the less we focus on these matters, the more the people we call corrupt are going to steal our money. They're using our ignorance, not knowing, and they're stealing this money through the law. They're using the laws smartly because of using our ignorance, because the ignorance is as a result of what we have put focus on. Matters that don't really add to anything.
Add to anything. And of course, even when we have invitations, few people turn up, and there were vacant seats. I was really shocked. I'm like, what are these? Why these seats were supposed to be filled in with businessmen and women? Who wanted solutions, or who wanted their matters to be addressed on the tariffs that are being.
Okay.
How? Then in your shops, and you come and address the issue where it needs
to be addressed. Right point.
Yeah. Well, of course, the umbrella body for the private sector in East Africa appointed Tanzanian Adrian Raphael Njau as its acting chief executive, replacing John Bosco Kalisa of Rwanda, who has been the helm of the past 3 years. Now, of course, in the statement here, the board of the East African Business Council said Mr. Njau takes over with effect from just a few days ago on the 12th. Yeah, that's the gentleman right there. Now, of course, the East African Business Council board is chaired by Ms. Angelina Ngalula of Tanzania. The private now it's going to be Tanzania is taking the lead now. Let's see what they will bring for us now. Looking at the tenure of Rwanda. Okay. Now, of course, Tanzania, their chair was the Tanzanian private sector, the one for Tanzania Private Sector Foundation. And of course, she was chairperson since 2022 in June. Now, of course, prior to this appointment, Mr. Njau served as trade and policy advisor to the East African Business Council. Now, of course, he holds a master's degree. These are his qualifications: a master's degree in international trade and bachelor's in economics, both from the University of Dar es Salaam. Now, of course, if you have to be in this, you have to understand economics, you have to understand business, okay? The language that people do understand, because now I think he can relate to other business people as well. Now, of course, he has professional certifications and specialization training in trade, investment, policy, and region integration, including in Switzerland, Singapore, and Sweden. Of course, he brings a wealth of experience in this, promoting a public-private dialogue and formulating business-focused policies to advance in the East African regional integration. Yeah, it is good that they had to source from within themselves, because he was also the trade policy advisor in the East African Business Council. He has a master's in international trade and economics, a bachelor's in economics. So he understands. He understands.
You know, when we see that, it reminds me back when Randa appointed. I know I saw it. It was all over social media. It was training. Randa appointing the IT minister, and you take a look at the background. She has started from big universities. Engineering, information security, and then they're comparing to Uganda, and man, the profile was so...
Yeah, it was devastating. I think it was like in June or May?
Recently, like
June, actually, like, June last
year. Yeah, early last month.
That really shows the kind of stagnation that we have as a country.
Yeah, and
you cannot whatsoever. I find maybe they could have experience in leadership, but then they do not have experience in this very thing that you're appointing them.
Exactly. It's not about, by the way, yeah.
How would you have a minister of health not being a doctor?
Having some doctorate background.
I'm a journalist. I'm a minister of health.
Okay, it doesn't connect. I should be the minister of
information.
Information?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And that is true. That is absolutely true. Or else, if you are, because in most cases, when you take a look at the advisors that are in that line to advise the minister, most of them still don't have the technicalities, because we know that it's more of whose son, whose, you know, you must belong to a certain class for you to be there, regardless of your competency record, you know. So, and that has been actually, has costed this country quite huge lots of economy in terms of salary expenditures and the decisions made. Most of the deals these people pass are not for the benefit of the people, they're for the benefit of themselves, you know, because they have no expertise of what they're actually doing.
It's like being a minister of justice and you know nothing about laws.
Laws, exactly. It's very horrible. It's very horrible. We shall have an unjust system. People get away with crime and all so much that. And it's already happening. But it's even in Uganda, even if you have that background, somehow you're not the final decision maker.
Exactly.
So that's the big issue here. Well, away from that, we take a look at Kenya here as court blocks Kenya Revenue Authority from charging value-added tax on golf club memberships. Yeah. Now the High Court has barred the Kenya Revenue Authority from demanding a 16% value-added tax on golf club membership subscriptions and entrance fees.
These guys are really taxing everything. My goodness.
So the laws are actually working.
There's nothing for free in Kenya.
In Kenya.
There's nothing for free.
Yeah, Kenya is like the USA to some degree of that. Yeah.
Well, by the way, I mean, golf is like a luxury these days, and you know, someone wakes up on a Monday and they're taking their the balls and you know the clubs to go and play. So
to play and
I mean, the subscription is quite heavy and expensive. Actually, golf is not a cheap sport.
But I'm still trying to understand what makes it really so expensive. Not that people that play it are paid.
No. Let me tell you. The thing is, it was.
It's just a mind that was created.
It was a prestigious sport.
Okay.
Yeah. For you to play golf, you have to be in a certain class.
Certain class. So I can't really move out there and say that, okay, let me go to the golf pitch and try to play some golf.
You have to first be a member, subscribe and be a member.
Before I enter, they ask for my membership card?
Yeah. You don't just enter and play golf anyhow, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the originality of it was to bring together the class, the upper class, together to have a sport that they could relate to. You get.
Okay.
That is why
it makes sense. Why did they choose basketball?
It's for everyone now. Come on.
Football.
Basketball is for everyone.
But
They wanted a unique sport.
Can somebody really wake up and make their pitch? They design their pitch and they say, let's play golf. Because if you say that football is for everyone, I try to understand it from a perspective of, we tried this in our homes. We tried out all kinds of sports, but perhaps we just didn't find interest in golf.
Just like the consumerism of tennis. It's more on a lesser percentage compared to other sports. Tennis.
Okay. Is it for the rich too?
Kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Rich people really choose
Unique.
amazing sports. All right, now to proceed with this report, Justice Nixon Sifuna, that is quashed a petition by the Kenya Revenue Authority, citing the mentioned revenue pools, citing that the mentioned revenue pools are not taxable nor variable. Now, the Kenya Revenue Authority, through the Commissioner for Domestic Taxes, had appealed a decision by the Tax Appeals Tribunal Court in 2020, which restrained it from taxing golf clubs. Now, the four respondent golf clubs located in Kiambu include Sigona Golf Club, Thinka Golf Club, Ruiru Sports Club, and Kiambu Club Limited, and they urged that they are non-profit entities except from paying the value added tax. Now, according to the ruling by Justice Sifuna, he said that while this court as the tax court will facilitate legitimate collection of tax for the economy, it has at the same time the responsibility to guard against overzealousness, greed, unfairness, and unconscionable in tax collection. While taxes are inevitable and legitimate source for government revenue, we cannot tax everything and anything, said the ruling by Justice Sifuna. Now, the taxman had urged that due to the exclusivity of the club's membership, there was a rational basis to charge taxes on the subscription fees. Now, this they said confirmed that clubs were purely in business and not philanthropic entities, as they actually had urged, as they had counter-urged. Now, between 2015 and 2016, therefore, the authority demanded about 40 million Kenyan shillings in taxes for clubs. Now, Justice Sifuna, however, disagreed with the respondents' claim that the membership fees qualified as philanthropic provisions. Now, his only contention with KRA was that targeting every source of a business income was a case of sheer caprice and whim. Now, this is a statement in quotes. Now, of course, a detriment to the operations of any business. Now, she clearly says here that I agree with the appellant that this is tantamount. This is tantamount to importing the provisions of the Income Tax Act to VAT as the determinant as to whether VAT is payable or not. Now, the question at hand is just whether VAT is chargeable on the subject fees and whether they are taxable supply in terms of the VAT Act. And of course, the judge said in the ruling. Now, of course, with the consequence that joining fee and membership, that the joining fee and membership subscription fee of golf clubs and sports are exempt from VAT. Of course, the ruling is now final in Kenya. No more charging fees. Of course, subscription to
What?
Yeah, VAT. VAT on the fees for subscription for people that want to be a part of the golf, want to associate.
Yeah.
Building connections.
But I'm telling you, golf is for just a few people. Just few people. Maybe in Uganda it's becoming somehow, but even you chilling at that golf course, really, they'll run after you. It's just for a few selected people. But you could be a member. So if you have the money to subscribe.
How much? How much is there to subscribe for that?
I really don't know. I don't.
50 million?
No, that's a lot.
And does that subscription run for a year or it's...
Well, I guess we shall have someone to talk about that.
Okay.
And to see if we can qualify.
Qualified to be a part of this.
Qualify, just like Rotary. You know, it's just like Rotary.
Okay.
Rotary is not for everyone, honestly. You know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so these are prestigious things that
Yeah.
the rich try to connect, network with each other. Yeah, but you can force yourself your way in, honestly. It's a free world.
I see that.
It's a free world. Well, of course, that brings us to the end of East Africa and news. Let's see what is happening across the borders. Well, as coming in from Mozambique, their former finance minister is on trial. And of course, he is involved in a tuna bond scandal that happened in 2016. Can you imagine?
2016, yeah.
Take us through that report.
Now, Manuel Chang, who was the country's minister from 2005 and 2015, is charged with taking bribes to commit his country secretly to huge loans that prosecutors say were then looted. Now, of course, part of the crimes that is being charged includes bribes, fraud, and money laundering. Now, the loans were meant to buy a fleet of tuna fishing ships but went bad, plunging Mozambique into a financial crisis when the government's $2 billion in hidden debt was uncovered. That is in 2016. Now, prosecutors say huge portions of the loans went to bribes and kickbacks to bankers and government officials, including about $7 million to Chang himself. Now, Chang abused his authority to enrich himself through bribery, fraud, and money laundering. Assistant U.S. Attorney General Koch said during opening statements this week in a federal court in Brooklyn. Now, of course, Chang has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Now, the defense lawyer Adam Ford told juniors that there is no evidence that Chang agreed to take payoffs or received any penny in exchange for having Mozambique guarantee that the loans would be repaid. Now, we had also, there is another case here to do with the financial crisis. Now, the scandal had a seismic impact on the country's economy, with experts estimating that it could ultimately cost Mozambique around $11 billion, or around 60% of its current GDP. Now, before the emergency of the $2 billion debt, Mozambique was one of the world's 10 fastest growing economies for decades. For 2 decades, actually, according to the World Bank. Now, after the scandal emerged, growth stagnated, the currency lost value, inflation surged, and foreign investors lost confidence in the country. Now, the International Monetary Fund withdrew its support for the country. The World Bank says that as of last year, Mozambique is one of the 10 countries worldwide with the lowest GDP per capita. Now, we had the aftermath of the scandal as Mozambique's government has reached out to court agreements with creditors in an attempt to pay down some debt. Now, last year the government paid about $142 million back to Credit Suisse in cash and local currency bonds to cover original loans of about $522 million from Switzerland-based banking giant, according to the World Bank still. Now, Mozambique also recently reached an agreement on a $220 million settlement with Russia's VTB Bank and Portugal's BCP Bank. Now, the scandal has led to court action in Africa and Europe, as well as the United States. Now, in Mozambique, at least 10 people have been convicted and sentenced to prison over the scandal, including Ndambi Guebuza, the son of the former Mozambican president Armando Guebuza. Now, South African courts dismissed the Mozambican government's attempts to have Chang face charges there. Some Mozambican activists urged that he would be treated too leniently in his homeland and should be sent to the US instead. Now, of course, the US criminal cases have had mixed results. Pass and 2 other British bankers have pleaded guilty, but a jury in 2019 acquitted another defendant, that is Jim Bostani, and the shipbuilding company executive who's from Lebanon. Now, 3 other defendants aren't in US custody, and one is another Lebanese shipbuilding executive. The other two Mozambican ex-officials. Now, Chang was arrested at Johannesburg Main International Airport in late 2018, shortly before the U.S. indictment became public. After years of fighting extradition from South Africa, he was brought to the USA last year. Now, his lawyers tried to get the case thrown out. Among their arguments, that prosecutors overshot the reach of U.S. securities law and that Chang is immune from prosecution as a former foreign official. U.S. District Judge Nicholas Garfis turned them down. The Mozambican saying that actually that if this gentleman stayed home, he would be lenient. They would be lenient on this gentleman. So he deserved to actually go to the U.S. to be prosecuted.
Well, of course, quite interesting there. And of course, as we await for Washington to host the African trade ministers for AGOA this very month, well, of course, that is...
They're looking forward to prolong the agreement to 2041.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Now, of course, the U.S. President's Joe Biden administration will host the trade ministers from developing countries in Washington, D.C. next week to discuss plans to extend the African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA until 2041. Now, of course, the ambassador, that is Catherine Tai, United States Trade Representative, announced that her country will host the 21st U.S. Sub-Saharan Africa Trade and Economic Cooperation Forum, that is AGOA Forum in Washington on the 24th, just next week. Yeah, and of course the ministerial program will feature plenary sessions. Will you going to be part?
Yeah, you guys don't know part of that.
I'm telling you. Oh, wow.
It's not part of that. Maybe perhaps talks could be put in line to renew the agreement.
Talks after the Eastern really did happen, so don't know how far that progressed.
We need AGOA. How much we are saying that we need Europe. Of course, European market has actually been so supportive to Uganda. And actually recently statistics really reveal that most of our export earnings actually coming in from COMESA and Europe, Middle East. We had less trade with America, really. So I think we could still survive in some kind of a way. Because take a look, with sanctions, we don't get aid anymore. And the bank that actually cuts aid, which I'm not sure it cut, the World Bank, the Bretton Woods institution, is governed by the United States of America. So it's still America in a way. So we can still find ways we can build alternative revenue routes.
Yeah,
not necessarily the World Bank.
We're already starting on that. And then China, other banks coming in, Afrasian Bank, African Development Bank, coming in. So we shall see. Maybe by 2041 there would have been a solution for it.
Perhaps if the country has a new president.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, some of these contracts can be renewed.
A few months from now. A few months from now.
We shall have a new president a few months from now?
The U.S.
No, I'm saying, if you're going to get another president, perhaps that's when those contracts would be renewed. I'm thinking.
Okay, that is nearly impossible for now, but
it will be at some point.
It will be at some point. Now, of course, the AGOA Forum will bring together governments of the United States and future AGOA and the U.S. African Trade and Investment Corporation, as well as breakout sessions on variety of topics. Now, this, like I'd said, the theme of this year's AGOA Forum is Beyond 2025.
2025. Okay.
Reimagining AGOA for an inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous tomorrow. Yeah, I guess for those that will attend, they'll give us, some insight of what
did they come up? What were they
came up with
resolutions? But the plans to extend this till 2041. If you take a look at Africa's vision of 2060. I think by then we need to have achieved the African Continental Free Trade Area. And I don't really know, why is AGOA, I'm trying to understand why this is happening, because this was some element of politics, into that. Anyway, time is not really our best ally for now. 4 minutes past 8, let's take into a break. Of course, coming up shortly is our business tips and quotes and further discussions in the business updates. Stick around.